If you love drawing florals but feel like your flower doodles are just getting stiff or boring, try changing this one little thing and watch the magic happen. Hey friends, welcome back. My name is Shayda Campbell, and around here we make art, and it's fun, not scary. So my floral doodles were kind of stuck in a rut as of late, and it's sad because flowers are my favorite thing to draw, especially in the spring and summer. But I made this one little switch in my mindset. Instead of feeling like I had to do watercolor with pen, marker, and then pencil crayon, let's let all that go. We can do whatever in any order, and even if I'm filming a video, it doesn't have to be one thing or the other. So that's at the heart of today's video. Hopefully, if you're feeling a bit of a creative block or those winter blahs, this will like shake you up and get you out of it a little bit. We'll begin the mini flowers today using a red colored pencil, and we're just gonna draw that quintessential flower, like a flower a kid would draw. You can start with a circle if it helps, and then go around and draw a bunch of petals. For some of the flowers, I will keep the front petals very short. That gives a little look of depth, and just go for perfectly imperfect here. Petals should be different sizes and shapes. Then we'll grab a dark green colored pencil, and we are going to join them all with these curving stems that kind of come to one point. You can add some leaves, and sometimes just as a design decision to be cute, I like to leave the leaves uncolored, just something different, and I'll use a black marker to put a center on those sweet little flowers. That is number one mini flower mixed media craziness all done. Grab a light purple or light pink marker because we're doodling pansies next, and you're going to draw 3 little petals, almost like Mickey Mouse with his big ears. All of them can be a little different. Some could be wrong, some could be small, large, you get the drill. And then, or you know the drill. Then we'll take a dark purple pencil, marker, whatever you want, and we're going to put 2 little petals peeking out from the back. I'm going to add to my cluster here, I think. So you could always start with the darker purple. And then I'm reaching for a green Tombow brush pen, and we'll use that to our advantage. A delicate brush point will give you the nice thin lines for the stems, and then you can add a little pressure and do a grouping of lines to give you a nice fluffy, ruffly leaf. Grab a dark yellow marker, and we'll just put a dot of that color at the center of those flowers. Then we need a really sharp purple pencil. Of course I did that. And we're just gonna put a whole cluster of lines on each of the lighter colored petals. And you could add a few dark green lines on the leaves as well if you're crazy like that. What I really want you to see in this video is that you can play around with your supplies and just use them however feels good to you, and nobody can tell you that it's wrong. Next, I want to share a mini rose doodle with you. So I started with a pink brush pen, did these kind of fluffy, messy circles, take a darker color pencil or pen and do a little flower doodle right at the center, maybe a couple curving lines surrounding it. And then we'll come in with brown, and we're doing all these little stems, clusters of stems and branches. And then finally, I come back with that same green Tombow, and we're just doing these little oval-shaped leaves. What I really love about drawing small is that it makes things more approachable. At least for me, it makes things seem like, come on in, this is not too crazy, this is not scary. It's mini. Next up is Delphinium. I start with a very faint curved line, and then I do very tiny little flower doodles, like 4-petal flowers that sort of give way to just dots up at the very top and are kind of larger and more heavily clustered down at the bottom. Then I grab a darker blue, and we're going to do kind of little X's and starbursts at the center of some of those flowers. And then we are going to continue using that darker color to fill in space, sort of in and around the light blue flowers, maybe at the bottom, and then continue to outline them and draw our little starbursts and whatnot. But you can see how that really adds a lot of depth to the Delphinium blossoms. After that, we grab a dark green, and we'll come in and sort of hint at the stem being in between all those tiny little blossoms. We'll bring it down to the bottom, add some curving branches, and do that sort of fluffy leaf where you just do a cluster of lines, sort of add pressure to the brush pen, and maybe finish it off with a few more little dots and whatnots to give it a little bit of like movement, a little bit of life. I'm feeling good about this. How are you feeling? Remember to grab that worksheet if you need a little bit of extra help with the illustrations. I am going to move on to sunflowers, start with a circle, and we're just going to do a whole bunch of perfectly imperfect petals. And I like to put some lines in between some of the petals just to, I don't know, I think that goes into that idea of like adding a bit of life, adding something a little wrong. And then we'll grab a light brown and we're just going to fill in the ovals at the center. One of the flowers, the lower one, is a little bit more angled, so the oval is, kind of squished. It's like a horizontal oval. The other flower is standing up straight, so it is like a vertical oval. We are going to do dark brown dots to give those stamens a little extra oomph. And then I decided to come back in with a light brown or dark yellow and do some lines on the petals. Totally up to you if you want to do this. Just kind of keep them going with the shape of each petal. I thickened up some of the petals, added some more lines. It gives it a nice texture, and voila. Moving right along, we're going to doodle crocuses together. Beautiful spring flower, a sign of spring for us Canadians anyway, and probably many of you. I am drawing these very messy little half flowers with a light purple pencil crayon. And then I just came in with like a dark magenta Tombow and sort of drew like a semicircle across the front. It gives them a nice bit of depth. Did a whole bunch of lines so it almost looks like they're popping up from the grass. You could add a few leaves. I just added a bit of pressure to that brush pen to make these messy leaf shapes. And then the thing is, for the first ones, I forgot to leave a space for the yellow at the center. So you might want to do that. Don't color in the purple in its entirety. Tried to redeem myself with a few extra flowers at the end. Let's stick with this spring theme and draw some tulips. I do have some beautiful tulips sitting on the table here. So I kind of make like a heart shaped, except it has 3 points at the top. Again, it's kind of like a flower a kid would doodle, like that very quintessential tulip shape, but just make it very perfectly imperfect, and I promise it'll look good. Grab a light green, do some thick stems, and then I drew in these sort of drooping long leaves that come to a bit of a point. And again, I left them uncolored, just the outline. We'll take a dark pink and draw 3 petal shapes at the front of each tulip, with 2 more poking out at the back to give them some depth. And then if you want to really see that depth, add a few little dots and lines at the center to indicate that stamen. And all of a sudden, wow, 3-dimensional tulip mini doodle. I find if you think about the qualities of a flower while you draw, that can really do the trick. So I think marigolds are shaggy. So I'm thinking about Shaggy as I make this big scribbly circle, and I think that works. Maybe I need one more there. Grab a green brush pen, do some little leaves poking out underneath the flower. We're gonna do a stem in those same sort of ruffly leaves. And then same trick we used for the roses, where we do kind of a flower doodle right at the center, but this time you keep going out and doing sort of half ovals all the way around to make it look like there's so many petals there. Marigold complete. Our final doodle today is a daisy, and I start with a few small dark yellow circles, and then we come in with a light gray colored pencil, and we're just going to doodle a bunch of silly little petals. Again, very perfectly imperfect. They can be different lengths. There can be weird spaces, petals missing. Take a dark green colored pencil, and we are going to do that sort of curving stem where it all joins in one spot. I just find that makes for a very pleasing, symmetrical sort of mini doodle. One thing I didn't mention is that I've used the same green Tombow brush pen and the same dark green colored pencil so that there's a nice unity in this when you look at it as a completed sketchbook piece. The only green that's different is the green I used for the tulip stems. Let's sign our name on there, because that is not just some mini doodles. That's not just some experiments. That's like really nice. Really nice little sketchbook piece, you guys. I had a lot of fun with this one. And remember, you can get a worksheet that will help you through all 9 of these spring mini floral doodles. You can use pen, pencil, paint, whatever you like. Check that out over on my Patreon. It's just $3 a month to join, or $33 for an entire year. Yeah, it's pretty inexpensive, I like to think. Thanks for being here, friends. Hit that subscribe button, and I'll see you soon with a new tutorial.